Welcome back to This Week in Film. It's the weekly podcast where we talk about movies that we've seen over the past 7 days. Or in this case, it's a special edition where we talk about one movie that we've both seen. I'm Nick.
And the last season of Game of Thrones.
I'm Nick Pananto, joined as always by Midwest Matt Lauer. Matt, we both watched Hell Comes to Frogtown.
Yes, we did.
Yep. We're gonna talk about it. And who do we have to thank for this gift?
Scott Cahall, our good friend he's not from Germany, but he's in Germany.
Yeah. Thanks, Scott.
Yeah.
Thanks for delivering this porn movie without any porn.
So true.
So this is our extended discussion episode, which means we're just going to do like a deep dive on this movie we both watched. But Matt and I have both agreed that we don't have a whole lot of material for this movie. So at the end of the episode, we're going to recap Game of Thrones because we want to talk about that. And so stay tuned for it. But the year is 1988. And Rowdy Roddy Piper is fresh off the heels of the classic film They Live, which I've never seen.
Neither have I.
I mean, I've seen the fight sequence, that like real long fight that he and Keith David have, but I've never seen the actual movie.
I've never seen the fight sequence, but I have seen him say the bubblegum thing a lot.
I don't know what that is.
He says, I came here to do two things. Kick ass and chew bubblegum. And I'm all out of bubblegum.
So, first things first, thank God this movie is only an hour and 26 minutes long.
Indeed. Now, I at least had the pleasure of watching it over Skype with Scott. So that made it a lot more tolerable and entertaining.
I watched this alone.
And I feel so bad for you. I really do. My heart goes out to you, Nick.
So, the basic plot of this movie, it's the post-nuclear war future, and I couldn't really get a handle on when this was supposed to be.
Yeah.
Like, is it only supposed to be 10 years after the nuclear war? Or is it 20 years after the nuclear war?
I don't know. I have no idea. Long enough for a whole race of amphibian people to evolve and become full-grown.
Well, that's another question that I had, is that are the lizard people lizards turned into humans or humans turned into lizards?
Oh, I didn't realize they were like mutated like from one species that just got warped into another, like some sort of like Secret of the Ooze kind of thing. I thought they evolved. And I don't know from which direction. If I had to guess right now, I'd say amphibians turned into people.
Okay. That makes sense because the one guy like makes a lot of animal noises. But so anyway, it's the post-nuclear war future. We start off with this one guy wearing a beekeeper costume, and he finds a Statue of Liberty, which I think is supposed to be a joke, like a Planet of the Apes joke. He finds a Statue of Liberty statue, and he like picks it up and is examining it, and this Mad Max kind of guy comes over and takes it from him, and so then the beekeeper guy shoots him with a gun.
Yeah. And
he's like, mutants can't have weapons. And it's at this moment I went, oh, the beekeeper guy is a mutant, I guess, because this beekeeper guy shows up like 10 times, but we never learned anything about him.
Yeah, I don't know who he is.
And then the credits are rolling on this movie, and there's one name that popped up a ton of times, which is Randall Frakes. And I'm like, Randall Frakes is real proud of his work. I don't know who directed it. Let me pull up the IMDb for it. I have it right here. It was directed by Donald G. Jackson and R.J. Kaiser, and they both sound like porn directors. So,
well, it feels like it.
Yeah. And so then we meet Roddy Piper's character, Sam Hell, or as he's sometimes called, Hellman, or Hellwise, or something like that. They give him like 3 different names in this movie.
I did not even catch that. I just thought it was Sam Hell.
At one point, the blonde lady, who in a text you referred to as James Woods.
Did I refer to her as James Woods, or did I say she looked like James Woods?
It doesn't matter.
Because, yeah. I said to Scott when she first showed up, I was like, I gotta look this woman up because I'm pretty sure she's James Woods' sister. She's not.
Jamie Woods.
Yeah. Well, and he was saying, no, I think she's Roy Scheider's sister, which I could see that too. But I still feel like she looks more like James Woods. There's something about her mouth that's got James Woods lips.
I think it's the cheekbones and the nose that really make her look like James Woods. Because like once you said it, I couldn't unsee it.
Yeah, yeah. I think Roy Scheider and James Woods have similar features themselves.
I disagree.
But Roy Scheider's just a really attractive man, and James Woods is. He looks like an asshole.
And it starts off with Sam Hell. He's like in prison or something, and some cop is interrogating / torturing him for, I guess, banging his daughter or something. I'm not entirely sure why he's in jail.
Yeah.
He says something smart to the cop, and the cop breaks a beer bottle over his head. And I'm like, that's not going to get you a lot of answers if you're interrogating somebody. That's just going to kill them.
Or at least knock them unconscious or something.
Right, yeah. And so then, like, the government bursts through the door, and they say, stop beating up Sam Hell because he's got the power to impregnate women. And
yeah, he's got the super juice.
Yeah, he's the most virile man that's alive, and they need him to impregnate women, and that's going to be his job, is to basically impregnate women. And so they give him some special government underwear where if he tries to take it off, it'll explode.
Yeah, it's like a super shock explosion chastity belt.
Yeah, it's got like a taser built into it, and it's to keep him under control. And basically, like I said, his job is to bang chicks, knock them up, and create future soldiers for this war, this nuclear war that's still ongoing, even though they talk about the war in the past tense.
Now, I'm going to jump in and ask you a question here.
Uh-huh.
And I know we haven't gotten through the entire plot yet, even though there's not much more to it. But what was your takeaway in terms of Sam Hill's attitude towards this job?
He didn't seem to want to do it.
Yeah. And then there are other moments where he's kind of like winking at the camera. Like,
yeah.
All right, if I have to have sex with all these ladies, I guess I will.
Like that first woman that he rapes, and he's like, oh, I don't want to do this, but I guess I will. And they like give her a roofie in order to make her into it, but we'll get to that. And then like I guess they introduced that there aren't very many men left in this society at all, so it's a lot of females, including his female army, and then this one like super tough female soldier whose name I just keep writing down as Chlamydia.
Oh God.
I can't remember her name. It's like Centrilia, and so I just went with Chlamydia.
She's pretty hot though.
I mean, like 80s hot.
I kept likening her to Mia Jovovich.
Oh yeah, all right, I'll give you that. She had that like wet, slicked back hair.
Yeah, her hair's slicked back the whole time.
It looked like she just got out of the shower 4 days ago, or for 4 days.
What?
It looked like she just got out of the shower for 4 days.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah. So I think for the most part, like all people are infertile. I guess not everybody, but because of the post-apocalyptic or post-atomic like fallout, and they have collected women who are fertile, and he's the one man that they found who's fertile.
Right.
So it's kind of across the board. It's not like it's only affected sperm, but they have a bunch of women that they've had sort of tagged in a way, and then they've been kidnapped. So they got him, and then they're like, well, now that we got the big dick guy, let's take him and find these women who got stolen.
Right. And the women that got stolen are pacifists or something, and they refuse to escape. So Rowdy Roddy Piper, Jamie Woods, and Chlamydia have to go save them.
Let's call her Mia Jovovich.
I'm going to keep saying Chlamydia because I wrote it down 100 times. But they decide to infiltrate hostile mutant territory in this pink, obnoxious car because they're women. They have to drive in a pink car.
From like the 20s.
Yeah. And so like their job is to go free these women, and then he's supposed to just bang them on the spot because they're ready to go. And it's at this point I write down that Rowdy Roddy Piper is just a terrible actor. He's just the worst.
He is really bad. He's got like one goofy face that he makes all the time. And
they're going to this place called Frogtown, which is like a lizard man location. And then it's their first night, and they're all sleeping out in the desert. And the James Woods girl starts doing like a weird, sexy dance in her lingerie that she brought with her. And then she like starts trying to seduce him. And he's like, I'm not into it, or I'm not in the mood. And then she's like, are you sure?
She's like, are you sure? I'm going to take off my gigantic glasses.
Yeah. Those ridiculous glasses. And he's like, all right, fine, we can bang if you want. And like he goes to bang.
We can bang if you want to.
Yeah. And she like grabs her earring, and her earring's connected to his government underwear, and it starts electrocuting him. And he's like, what are you doing? And she's like, I'm supposed to keep you in a constant state of arousal, but not allow you to complete or whatever.
She's trying to get him to build up his cum. Yeah. Like, I'm going to keep you going, but you can't have a release because we want to save up as much as possible.
And so then like she like leaves after electrocuting his balls for like a minute. And then Chlamydia comes over in the middle of the night and sexually assaults him. And she takes off her clothes, and then we get to see the only pair of boobs in the whole movie.
And this is on YouTube.
It was on YouTube?
Yeah. That's how I watched it.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, at that moment, I was like, you can't show boobs on YouTube. And I was informed by Scott that they're out there.
And then, like, it's the next morning, and they're, like, driving away again.
Well, yeah, but he doesn't get to, doesn't the blonde lady, Jamie Woods, stops them.
Oh, yeah,
and she's, like, all pissed off, like, I'm jealous.
She's like, you're out of uniform, Chlamydia.
Which, speaking of the uniforms,
oh, yeah.
The Mia Jovovich, and I, you know, like, I don't mean to objectify everyone. This movie's just got so little to offer otherwise that all you can pretty much do is just look at the people and be like, all right, here's how they look.
Yeah.
She's got sort of Tomb Raider-y type sexy outfits going on. The other lady, I would like to see what, like, her closet, because she's got a weird assortment of outfits. Like, she's all of a sudden... Yeah, go ahead.
She goes from, like, nerdy scientist to, like, Victoria's Secret model.
Or like the Hot Topic version of Victoria's Secret. Like, here's a sexy witch costume that I'm just going to wear as though it's, like, I don't know, her stripper costume. And her this might just be an 80s thing, but her lingerie is fucking weird.
Yeah, it is not doing it for me.
So anyway, I'm sorry. So she interrupts. She's mad.
Yeah, and then that scene ends, and it's like the next morning, and they're just driving. And then it's at this point I wrote a note where they take this shot of him like glaring at James Woods driving about 3 or 4 times. Like it's the same shot of her driving and he giving her the side eye like, I can't stand you. Like 3 or 4 times.
Yeah, well, I was just going to say, yeah, and throughout the entire movie, there's no gradual build. Okay, so spoiler alert, everybody. At the end, they like each other. But it doesn't have like what a good movie would have, where the relationship builds kind of gradually, and spoiler alert for Game of Thrones, like Jaime and Brienne. It's just they have this like lusty attraction, and then the next page of the script they hate each other, and then the next page they have this almost gonna kiss each other thing, and then the next page they hate each other. It's just back and forth more than it is like developing.
Yeah, it's either on or it's off.
Yeah.
And then they have an argument about the contract he signed with the government, where she has a copy of it, and it's like 40 pages long. And she says, here's where it says in subsection B, Article 4, where you're going to bang all the women we tell you to bang. And he's like, oh, yeah? And he like grabs the contract and throws it out the sunroof of the car. And I'm like, throwing away a contract doesn't just make it void, I mean, right. I'm sure they have a copy of it.
I don't know. Maybe they don't. It would make sense if they had their own. But, I don't know if I can't imagine too many printers.
Yeah. And then at this point, they it's nighttime again or something. And they come and their sensor detects a person, and they track the person down who's trying to get away. And it turns out it's some almost feral woman who's escaped Frogtown. And Jamie Woods says, she's very fertile. You're going to have to bang her. And so she gives her this shot that subdues her and makes her really horny. And then he's like, I don't think I want to do this. And I'm like, oh, okay. So he doesn't want to just rape the girl. But then he does anyway. And at this point, this is when she calls him Hellman, which was weird because that's not his name.
Just sounds like mayonnaise.
Exactly. So, and then it's at this point, this is before he rapes the girl, but she says, I guess I need to arouse you. And she starts doing another sexy dance, and she's wearing a totally different set of lingerie. And at this point I wrote, her glasses are hideous. she's got terrible glasses. And then I
don't know if those were oversized glasses in the 80s or if they were just normal 80s glasses, but damn, they're huge.
Yeah, I don't know. They seem pretty hideous. But then at the same time, if you think back to who's the chick from Top Gun?
Kelly McGillis?
Kelly McGillis has some hideous glasses in Top Gun, and that's 1986, I want to say.
Yeah, I'm thinking this is one of those cases in which the 80s were just hideous.
Yeah,
they were a terrible time.
It's true.
If we have any listeners who are too young to remember the 80s, congratulations.
Yeah, you only experienced the wonderful colors of the 90s.
Yeah, that's enough suffering anyway.
And so then the girl that they gave the horny shot to is all into him, and I'm like, this is still technically rape. She doesn't know what she's doing.
Yeah,
the hero of the movie is raping a girl with the intention of impregnating her.
Yeah, that's not even a technicality. This is just outright wrong.
Yeah. And so then it cuts away. And then we see the beekeeper guy again and some frog sound effects. And then that's it. And then it's the next morning, and Rowdy Roddy Piper has banged the feral woman back into being normal, and now she's on their team, where she's like, I'll tell you anything you know because I'm in love.
Anything you know, huh?
I'll tell you anything you know.
just to reinforce it.
Yeah. And so then they ask her, like, where'd you come from, blah, 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 all that stuff. She's like, well, I came from Frogtown, and my sisters are there, or my girlfriends are all there. And they're like, okay, well, here, put on this wristband and start walking that way, and eventually someone will find you. And don't worry, mothers are heroes. You'll be treated like a queen, implying that she's already pregnant from Rowdy Roddy Piper.
Of course she is.
And she could not be more thrilled about the whole thing. And then we see Chlamydia, and she's wearing some new set of sexy Tomb Raider clothes. And then Rowdy Roddy Piper and James Woods have to go on foot, where she puts on this BDSM costume with like a chain around her throat, and they have to walk to Frogtown, which is just some old factory.
Frogtown reminds me of if you played Fallout 3, I think the name of the town is Adam. Or probably any of the towns from Fallout 3.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Until they get inside, then it's like a
Megaton?
non-entertain. Oh yeah. And then once they get into the kind of the building that they're in, it's a non-fun version of that cantina from Star Wars. But there's not really much music going on.
No, it's awful. It's, first off, they've got no electricity, it seems, but they have neon lights being powered. and they've got a guy whose job it is to turn this hand crank, which powers a stereo.
Yeah, they need some of those kids from Snowpiercer.
Yeah. And so we get inside this building, and you see the guy turning the crank for the stereo, and then there's like a stripper lady, or like a burlesque dancer, and it's like this fish woman wearing this.
Yeah, go ahead.
She's just wearing this horrible. She looks like the monster from The Shape of Water, but like wearing man clothes and with a big face.
No, she looks like you're kind of right about the monster from Shape of Water, but like she's wearing the grandma's closet version of the Chiquita Banana Head. On
top of like a weird like old wedding dress.
Yeah. And listeners, I don't know if we've mentioned this before, but I have a strong personal distaste for Muppets and people in costumes and stuff. And this is a point in the movie at which I just started gagging because it's so disgusting. And people should not have to look at stuff like this.
They're really gross.
Oh God. And not in a they're supposed to be scary and it's an effective horror effect kind of thing. It's just disgusting special effects.
Yeah.
Prosthetics and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. At this point, Rowdy Piper goes to the bar and asks for a drink. He like bangs on the table and says, "Bartender, drink." And I don't know what he expected to happen, but they hand him a drink, and as he goes to drink it, his eyes are already crossed before he tastes it.
Yeah, I said that too. I was like, why are his eyes already crossed when he hasn't even actually gotten any to his mouth yet? And then when he does drink it, then he crosses his eyes again. Yeah. Like, why did you drink it if it smelled so bad that it was making your eyes cross?
Right.
Yeah.
I think it's because he's a terrible actor.
I think so too.
And then we meet like
Rest
an old friend of his. Yeah, that's true. That's sad. Then we meet like an old man friend of his named Looney, and they imply that Looney was 80 years old 30 years ago, which which means he's like 120 years old or 110.
110, yeah.
110. And the only thing that I can say about Looney is that he just looks like he's got some great teeth. For an old man who lives in the radioactive wasteland, he's got some great teeth.
Well, and aside from Mia Jovovich, who, again, I thought was rather attractive, this guy is probably, of all the people in the movie, he's got the most actual, like, character to his face.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not saying, like, I want to be looking at him, but I'm like, hey, wait, you seem like a normal human being. Okay. You have more than 3 expressions.
He definitely looks like the kind of guy who's probably in a ton of Westerns from the 60s.
Yeah, something like that. I could also see, like, if he were to play characters like this one more, he might fit into, like, a Jim Varney corner of the universe.
Yeah, I could see that too. And then the loony guy takes him to meet the guy in charge of the bar, who's like this lizard man, and then like they sit down to eat this dinner called slush, and this got like a genuine laugh out of me, where slush is just ground up lizards and ground up turtles, and it just looks like cream cheese and jello, green jello.
Ugh, I just threw up in my mouth.
And I forget what the setup for the joke is, but basically Rowdy's like, what is this? And he goes, it's a ground up turtle and ground up lizard. It's called slush. It's pretty good. And that made me laugh. I was like, that's pretty funny. And then the lizard man watches Rowdy eat the lizard turtle mix, and he's like, excellent. he's got this, he's this horrible lizard monster man, and he's just so excited to see a man eat lizard goo. It's so awful. It's just so awful. And then, like, basically, he makes a deal with the lizard man to sell James Woods to her, or to him, for something, for some reason. And it's all part of their plan to rescue the women that are trapped. And then they make a deal, and the guy hands him a beer, and it's like a real beer. And it's been so long since he had a beer, and it's a Coors Original. And all I could think was, I don't think I've ever had Coors Original. I've had plenty of Coors Light, which is gross.
I've had like 2 Coors Lights, and there's a reason I haven't had more.
Yeah. But like, I've never had a Coors Original, I don't think. The banquet beer. And so that was that.
Is that what it's called? The banquet beer?
Yeah, that's like Sam Elliott's voiceover in the Coors Originals commercial, where he's like, the banquet beer.
I don't even know what that means.
Get yourself a Coors Original. And so then this is when I had the question, has it been 10 years since the nuclear war, or 20? And then are these monsters humans turned lizards, or lizards turned humans? And then the lizard man asks Rowdy, can James Woods' wife, or James Woods' girl, dance? And then this is my favorite part of the whole movie, some other lizard man who comes over, who I guess is like the mayor of Frogtown. And he comes over and gets real mad that they were doing this underhanded deal. And Rowdy starts to argue with him, or the other lizard man starts to argue with him. And the guy just yells, shut your hole.
That got you, huh?
It really did. Because he's just like, shut your hole. And it comes out of this frog lizard's mouth. It's so funny. I'm gonna copy and paste it into this part of the show. So right here is where you're gonna hear it. Shut your hole! Yeah, that's pretty funny.
We've never done a sound effect before, so I wasn't prepared to respond to something that didn't happen.
Boy, it was great.
Shut your hole!
And then Rowdy gets punched in the stomach, which he gets punched in the stomach so hard he's knocked out.
Yeah.
And then there's more lizard man yelling. And then when Rowdy wakes up from being knocked out, the fish lady's trying to seduce him, which is really gross. Like, it's just really gross. Like, she just looks so nasty.
It's the worst.
Yeah. And then while she's trying to bang Rowdy, his government underwear starts beeping. If he gets too far away from James Woods, his underwear starts making this beeping sound as a warning to say, if you get too far away, you're going to get electrocuted in the balls again. And so his crotch starts beeping, and it's like nothing like a loud beeping crotch on an espionage mission. Like, who could imagine that they'd get separated during their mission? And then I wrote this note. Imagine being on set while they're making this movie. Like, how would you react to any of this happening?
I would probably spend most of my time trying to have conversation with Mia Jovovich.
Because it's I think it's at this point where James Woods is like down in like a cavern, and Rowdy's like up on some balcony watching them, and they're like telling her to like dance or get ready for the dance of the three snakes, and it's this lizard man with these beekeeper dudes like and I'm like, what the hell is going on? Like, how did this movie get approved to be made in any way?
Oh yeah. Yeah, there's no excuse for it.
Yeah. And then they take James Woods to like all the other women, and these are the women that she's supposed to save. And now this is where I get really confused as to what's going on, because all these women start erotically draping these silk cloths over James Woods, and I couldn't figure out, are they seducing her, or are the scarves making her really horny? Is that what's happening? Like, do you know what was going on there?
Oh, not at all. No, I have no idea what was happening there. Because
she was really into it.
Yeah, like she seems like she is. Like, there's something about her that seems like she's enjoying it. And then she's like, I guess they actually put a name to the thing, like the Dance of the Three Snakes. And then she's like, wait, what's that? I'm out of here.
Yeah. Yeah. It doesn't make any sense at all. But, like, they're doing it for forever. And at first it starts off where it seems like she's been drugged. And you're like, okay, she's been drugged. And then you're like, no, she's just really into it. So, I don't know.
Maybe they're, like, hypnotizing her.
Yeah. And then they come to take James Woods to go see the King Lizard. And she's
you've called her James Woods so many times now that I feel like someone out there, depending on how many people actually listen to this commentary on Hell Comes to Frogtown, well, I guess it's not commentary, but whatever. If they miss that, like if they're driving and they miss that conversation where we're talking about her looking like James Woods, throughout this whole thing, they keep hearing you say James Woods, but in all these situations, like then she's putting on this lingerie and then she takes off her glasses. Anyway, continue.
So she says, she fights back a little and tells the women, we need to fight back. We can free ourselves from this. And then the one like leader girl is like, you may be right. And then some other people come in and take her away, and then they lock the door, and she like turns to the camera and she goes, then again, they don't do anything. I thought that was kind of funny. I did enjoy that, where she's like, we will fight back. Maybe not. And then Roddy Piper is rescued by the fish lady, and then she gets stabbed in the heart with a big drill bit, and then he kills a lizard man. And
hey, did you get the impression that he and the fish lady knew each other, like had some sort of like backstory or something?
Not he and the fish lady, but James Woods and her did. Like they knew each other.
Okay.
Because they had like some secret code word where it's like, I still love you, or something like that. And that meant everything was going as planned. So what happens next?
It ends.
No, it doesn't. It keeps going on for so long. The James Woods chick has to do like a crazy sexy dance for this lizard man who like is getting a hard on while it's happening. And that is disturbing because I guess he has 3 penises is the joke. That's why it's called the Dance of the Three Snakes.
Oh, okay.
And
I had no idea why it was called that.
I mean, that's the only thing I could think of. But while she's doing her dance, they play like this Arabian music that the guy who cranks the stereo generator has to play. And every time he goes to make music, he sighs and like cracks his shoulders a little bit. And I was like, that's kind of funny too. All right. So then they all get out. Like he rescues her. They rescue all of the women. And then they're all supposed to cram into this tiny pink car.
Wait a minute. Somewhere in there, the old guy gets blown up or something, right?
Oh, that's coming up.
Oh, my bad.
Yeah. So like they're like fighting their way out of the building, and somewhere along the way they get shotguns. And it's at this point that Rowdy Piper and the chick are in love. They're in love with each other now. And they make a comment about the war being a long time ago, but it's still ongoing because he had like a daughter who's dead, and he had like the only memento he has from his daughter is this locket. And as they go to make their final escape, here comes Looney, who's like saving them with a flare gun, and he just keeps shooting flares at the lizard monsters. And and then this is when I discovered, or I wrote down, that the head frogman, he talks and sounds just like the Shredder from the Turtles movies, where he's like, babies, they're babies. He sounds just like it, like with that like reverb kind of sound effect too, like to the point where I kind of wanted to look it up and see if it was the same actor, but I don't care enough.
No.
So then they all escape. Looney gets shot. And it's implied that he gets shot in like the chest or something, because he like comes hobbling out and Rowdy saves him and throws him in the car. And then they're like driving away, and
Blood's
apparently
coming
Looney,
out of the back of his head.
yeah, like he got shot in the head, and then he just dies. And then the frogmen get into their own car, and they're trying to chase these guys down, and they take the time for this 3-second shot of the headlights turning on for a midday car chase. And I'm like, what are you doing? And then he gives Rowdy Piper back in the pink car, gives her that side-eyed look again because she's still driving, I guess. Looney dies, and then the movie just turns into Mad Max for a while.
Yeah, that's the second time you've compared it to Mad Max. And I've never seen Mad Max, but I feel like that's probably so much better than this that you shouldn't even bring them up in the same sentence.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the Mad Max is just because it's a post-apocalyptic car chase.
Oh, yeah. No, I get what you mean.
Yeah.
I just feel like if you could talk to this movie, you'd go, you wish you were Mad Max.
Oh, yeah. It really wishes it was. It really does. And then Chlamydia gets cut somehow. She gets this little scratch on her arm, and then she can't fire the gun anymore. And then it's revealed that the cop at the beginning of the movie who cracked the bottle over Rowdy Piper's head is like the main bad guy of the movie or something, or just another bad guy. Like he's the guy who's been selling weapons to the mutants, which is illegal. And then they have this drawn out sequence of Rowdy Piper killing him. And he's
where he like jumps over a boulder or something, and then there was something really weird about that fight.
I have a couple of notes about the fight. First of all, he's got this grenade launcher that no one ever uses, which I found very annoying. Like they try to use it, but it doesn't work. And then like he's like, hand me my sword. And like he could just grab the sword himself. Like his hand is right by his sword, but he wants one of the pacifist women to hand it to him. Anyway, so he gets the sword and throws it at the cop, and the cop just starts leaking red paint all over the desert. There's a weird Star Wars wipe. And then he comes across his body because he's going to finish the job. And you can clearly see that the body is breathing. Like you can just see him breathing in and out. And then it's when I realized that the cop looks like he could be a young version of Curly from City Slickers. Like if you took Curly from City Slickers and
Jack Palance
died his... Yes, thank you. I couldn't remember his name. He's like a young Jack Palance, but like if he was already an old man. So there's that. And I wrote the note, we better see this grenade launcher get used. And we never do. And then I noticed, like, I don't think you'll get this reference, but I'm pretty sure that this is the same location where Captain Kirk fought the lizard monster in the classic episode of Star Trek, because it looks a lot like that place. So if anybody knows at home, let us know. Is this where Kirk fought I think it's called a Gorgon from that episode of Star Trek? Is that where the fight took place? It's the same place in Hell Comes to Frogtown? Because it has a very iconic looking rock feature behind it. And then the fight goes on for forever. And then Rowdy's fighting the frog lizard man again, and he's getting ready to knock him off a cliff, and he grabs his sword and chops off his hand, and they cut away to him falling off the cliff, but his hand is still attached to his body. And he falls and he's dead. And then Rowdy goes back to find James Woods, and she's changed clothes somehow. And then they start kissing each other, and it is gross. Like, yeah, it is gross. Like, I all I can think is that they both must reek of cigarettes and like cheap cologne. Yeah. Like, it is, like, not attractive at all. And then he goes up to Chlamydia, and he's like, hey, here's my only memento of my daughter. Now it belongs to you. And then Rowdy Piper gets in the car to drive because he's a man, and the man has to drive home. And then James Woods tells him that after he's done banging all the girls in the back of the car, that he gets to bang her. And he's like, a soldier's work is never done. And that's the end of the movie. Thank God.
Yeah.
Oh my God. It is not fun. It was not a fun movie to watch.
No. And I'm amazed that you made it sound like there's that much plot.
Oh man, it is bad. And then I wrote one additional note, and I was like, who was the beekeeper guy? Because they show this beekeeper guy like 10 times, but they never show anything about him. So, an unanswered plot thread from Hell Comes to Frogtown. All right, so that was that movie.
I thought that was going to be a 10-minute conversation.
I had a lot of notes.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
I'm just glad we got to relive the whole movie again.
Yeah, you know what, listeners, don't watch this movie.
No, don't watch it. It's not worth it.
And I would imagine that most people have either actually, like, skipped past this to the Game of Thrones thing or not listened to it unless they have already seen it. And if you have already seen it, and so you wanted to hear this discussion about it because you've already suffered through it, God bless you just for having watched this fucking movie.
I mean, if you're curious at all, like, do like a quick YouTube search of Hell Comes to Frogtown, and Matt says it's just available on YouTube, and just skip through it till you get to the lizard monsters and just take a look at them and then turn it off.
Which is probably an hour in.
You're not wrong, probably.
Yeah, I mean there are a lot of different like previews and stuff like that on YouTube too, so you can just get a sampling of it and see how disgusting it is, and then not watch it.
Yeah, it was not a fun movie to watch. Like, I would have much rather not seen that.
Yeah.
Was that the first time Scott had seen it?
Yeah.
How did he feel about it?
He did not get much enjoyment out of it either.
Good.
like I don't think there were many moments where the movie like actually just like had our attention. Like if there were a point that, you know, one of us went like, oh, there's a fly on the window, and started talking about the fly on the window instead of the movie. That didn't actually happen, but it could have if a fly had shown up.
What do you think this movie was rated?
Probably. When was it? 88?
1988?
Did PG-13 exist yet?
I think so.
I think PG-13 came out because of the second Indiana Jones movie. Yeah. So it was probably PG.
PG?
Yeah. Jaws was PG.
Well, that was in the 70s, though.
Yeah, I don't. Without PG-13 existing, I don't think this would have been R.
Well, this was 88. PG-13 existed then.
Did it? So, well, then maybe PG-13.
Yeah. I guess I could just easily look it up. Because, I mean, there's hardly any language in it, and there's just the one set of boobs, which I think you're allowed a PG-13, like, one setter. R. It's rated R.
Wow.
And there's a sequel, apparently.
Yeah, made for TV. Return to Frogtown or something.
Frogtown 2. Zalone Gridsjack. I feel like that's a German.
Yeah, I think the title I saw on Wikipedia was Return to Frogtown. Anyway, don't watch it.
In the sequel to Hell Comes to Frogtown, the mutant frog leader of Frogtown kidnaps a professor and forces him to make a serum that will turn everyone into frogs. They also kidnap some ...
Yeah, let's stop at
this movie.
We don't need to know about the sequel.
The sequel.
Shut up about the sequel.
9.
Stop it.
I can't.
It's
got a 2.9 rating.
End my suffering.
Shut your hole.
Shut your hole!
Oh, man. Jesus.
The original has a 5.5 rating.
Why are we still learning about this movie? End it.
And that's the end of Hell Comes to Frogtown. Let us never speak of it again.
Yeah, if it were a living thing, I'd say put it down.
All right, Matt, you wanted to discuss the Game of Thrones.
Well, man, how long is this episode already? Well, I guess we're going to do it.
Minutes
we said we were doing it at the beginning. So, all right, Game of Thrones, series finale. Nick,
are you just going right into the series finale?
What the hell else are we going to do? We can't talk about the whole show.
I thought you were going to just do the whole season.
Oh, it's season 8?
Yeah.
In what, like 15
Yeah,
minutes?
we could do whatever we want. We could start with the...
well, we could probably
let's start with
around.
the season finale.
Yeah.
Yeah, who cares? Spoiler alert for Game of Thrones. There, you've been warned if you haven't seen the most popular show on television.
Yeah. Well, and by the time whenever you actually put this out there, because this is like a rainy day, not available kind of thing, right? So this is going to air 8 months after the last episode of Game of Thrones.
Oh God, we have to go back to Hell Comes to Frogtown.
No, we don't. No, why?
Yeah, we do.
No.
We've got to do our movie ranking list.
Oh, the fucking one slot above Aquaman. Done.
Really? Are you saying it's better than Aquaman?
Yes. Do you want to know why? Yeah. Because it's an hour shorter.
I'm guessing 0.5 stars.
Yes.
And a no as far as recommends
Jesus
go.
Christ, no.
And then me, I'm also going to put it towards the bottom. This is going to go at the bottom for me, the very bottom. Worse than Batman and Harley Quinn. In the new number 67 slot.
Fair enough.
And also 0.5 stars and a no. That's the end of Hell Comes to Frogtown.
Kill it.
Let us never speak of it again.
Till Nick remembers he wants to do something else with it.
All right.
So Game of Thrones. Okay. Okay, so let's start here. For the last episode of this, what was an epic journey, what was your favorite part?
Of the last episode?
Yes.
Let me think. I'm trying to remember the whole episode. It definitely wasn't the end.
Yeah, just try to remember any part of it that you actually enjoyed, if you can.
Yeah.
I'm just going to go ahead and say this. Any other episode of this show, or at least any episode from another season, you wouldn't have a hard time having something come to mind.
Right. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. So I don't even know if you will have a favorite thing, but I'm just saying, like, any other one, you'd be like, well, there was this thing and that thing and these great points.
I would say when the dragon melted the Iron Throne, but it didn't matter. Like, if there was any kind of a build-up to that, it would have mattered.
Yeah, I have mixed feelings about that, because I feel like they do say at some point that dragons are supposed to be these really wise creatures, so it sort of makes sense, but at the same time, it gives the dragon a sort of, like, personification that, I don't know, it was weird to me. Like, it felt kind of corny.
Oh, yeah. It was bad.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it was, like, totally out of place. It didn't make any sense. And it was right after Daenerys dies, but, like, why would it melt the throne just because she was dead? Like, I guess because he can't attack Jon Snow because he's a Targaryen?
Well, and that's something that, like, have you read the books?
I have.
Yeah, that's not true at all. At least in the books.
Thing?
Yeah, no, the dragons killed a bunch of Targaryens.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, because there's a whole group of people who, like, there's like a whole race or nationality where it's like all these kind of rejected Targaryens. I want to say it's like Dornish people have Targaryen blood in them. And that's why the one character who was never in the show, just like, he's like, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to join this dragon queen and be her husband and, fly on dragons and stuff. And then he shows up and the dragon's like, rah, and just burns him. Like that.
Oh, yeah, I remember that guy.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I forgot all about that guy. He wasn't in the show at all.
No. So
that was like a long, drawn-out thing where, like, she was saying that she would marry him.
I don't think she even really met him. But it was a long, drawn-out thing. He showed up in the 5th book, and you're like, oh, my God, why are you introducing another big character? And then by the time he dies, I was like, oh, I'm actually kind of into this guy. And then he meets the dragon, and it burns him to death. And I'm like, oh, well, that was worth it.
Yeah.
But okay, so some things from the last episode. Why would they let Tyrion talk?
Why would they let him talk at all?
Right. Like, he was about to be executed. He's still a prisoner. And he just walks on up and they're like, hey, you shut up. And then he's like, you know what? No, I think I'm going to lecture you all and decide who's king.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Let me lecture you all while I'm still wearing handcuffs.
Why? Well, not even only why would they let him talk, why would he even be brought there?
Yeah. It doesn't make any sense.
And then be allowed to lay out all of the rules for the new means of government as though A, it's clear that these are the new rules, and again, as though somehow he gets to decide that. And it really is like he's decided it and they're just listening to him. Like, he's like, yeah, so here's what we have to do. And they're just like, oh, okay, well, he's telling us what we have to do. So clearly he's tapped into the know,
Why is he even still alive?
That's
like, why is he and Jon Snow still alive at all? Like, shouldn't Jon Snow have been killed by Grey Worm, like, the minute that...
The minute that what? The minute that he confesses? Because seriously, like, what the hell? As far as anybody else knows, the dragon picked her up and took her away.
Yeah.
Nobody else was there. Jon Snow, who I guess I can appreciate it because he always tells the truth, When he walks downstairs and goes, "Hey everybody, I have some news here.
I have good news and bad news.
You know the Dragon Queen?" And they all say, "Yes, we do." Yes.
Remember how she was alive?
Yeah, I deaded her. She dead now. Sorry.
Whoops.
So anyway, and then Tyrion, since he's up there doing his thing and telling everybody what's what, then starts going into like, we should with Peter Dinklage's shitty fucking accent. "I'm sorry, everybody. He's not that good."
I disagree.
Peter Dinklage has very expressive eyes. I won't deny that. If he were acting only with his eyes, he would be brilliant. But he doesn't. He talks, and he's not that good at it. And so anyway,
I think he's wonderful.
Yeah, you and everybody else. But anyway, then he's like, "All right, so what do we have?" I can't do a good impression of Peter Dinklage's bad accent, but anyway,
just do his voice from Infinity War.
Oh God, no thanks.
Oh,
well, it's pretty much the same. It's just louder. But then he's like, "We have to find someone with a good." He turns into Arnold Schwarzenegger. "We have to find somebody with a good story." And then he starts talking about stories in a way that seems like the writers are just stroking themselves. And
who has a better story than Bran?
Everybody.
Everyone has a better
character.
story than Bran.
Exactly. He's the most boring character, and he was in the books too. I'll say this much: he in the books, it's clear that he's going to be a very important character because he's probably got more chapters than anybody. But they all suck. They're boring as hell.
Boring, yeah.
Yeah, and so not only does he have a shitty story, but then it's like, hey, we should make him king, although we've got no real understanding of what his powers are or what he actually even is. And then they're like, yeah, Bran the Broken. What a great story. He got snapped in half, and we don't know anything else about his story. We've seen him turn his eyes white, and we don't even know what happens then. He just sort of disappears and wargs into something that we never actually see.
Right.
And then he's like, so Bran, since I'm running things here now, will you be the king? And Bran, who's been the most character we've gotten from him the whole time is just that he's super stoic, is like, well, I didn't come all this way for nothing. I'm like, what the fuck is that?
Yeah. Why do you think I'm here? I mean, Bran wasn't even in season 6 of the show.
Right.
Like, there's like a whole season without him because his story is so boring.
Well, and they've been hinting at him being important, but never explain at all what that actually means. It's like, well, I remember all the stories. I'm like, okay, so what? The last guy that remembered all the stories was an underground tree man. Like, had he not existed, things would be pretty much the same.
Yeah. And then, like, I guess he was supposed to be real important with the Night King, but they don't do anything with the Night King at all.
No.
Like nothing. We don't learn anything about him at all. Like, I mean, my wife has been rewatching the series.
Yeah.
And like the very first scene of the show it takes place in the north. It takes place north of the Wall, where some Night's Watch members are investigating some crime. And long story short, it's a White Walker situation. And it like that's the first thing of the show is oh man, there's something going on with like creepy undead monsters in the great wide north. What are we going to learn about these guys? And the answer is nothing.
Right.
We don't learn anything. I mean, not one thing. Not what they want. Not where they came from. Not are they going to come back again later. like we don't learn anything about them. And they spend so much time building up the Night King in like the previous seasons, to really good effect. Where like, what's that one episode, Hardhome, where
where there's like the battle with them.
Yeah, and like that episode is kick ass. And then like Jon Snow and his, like what's left of his army gets away, and the Night King is like standing at the edge of that dock, and he does like the raise the dead, and like all of the dead come back to life, and you're like, oh man, this guy is really powerful and really amazing. And it came up with one of my favorite memes of the last couple of years, which is like the Night King with his arms out and he's like, come at me, Snow. But like you've got like this character who's set up who hasn't had one single line, and you're like, this guy is really powerful and really important, and I can't wait to learn everything about him. And we don't learn one goddamn thing.
No. And honestly, I don't need to know that much about him other than in terms of Bran's importance. Like, I'm like, you know what? Go ahead and leave the backstory of him mysterious, but like, give me some sense of why he wants to kill Bran so much.
Yeah.
Like, what is Bran, and what what does the Night King know?
Or what does he just want?
To get from him. Yeah.
Does he want to kill everything? Like, is that his goal, is to destroy all life? Because then what?
Well, I mean, I guess you could say that about anybody. Okay, so everybody wants to rule the whole kingdom, and then what? So
yeah, I guess, but
at least here, I mean, the other people you have speaking about it or something, some degree of motivation would be helpful. And I feel like the best thing would be to go like, here's why Bran is a threat to the Night King.
Yeah.
But again, that would involve going, here's why Bran is important at all.
Mm-hmm.
At all.
And they don't do anything.
No.
Like the best part, I think the best thing that came out of the entire Bran storyline was Hodor. Like the hold the door Hodor sequence. Like, I thought that was really well done. I was like, oh, so that's why he says Hodor all the time, because he was trying to save someone and his brain is now scrambled because of Bran.
Yeah, I kind of like the idea of like him traveling back there and being involved in some way.
Mm-hmm.
The name thing still didn't work for me. Something about it was just stupid feeling.
Hokey.
Yeah, real hokey. But not the idea of like him. That's actually maybe that is the one thing with Bran where I'm like, all right, cool, that's something he can do.
Yeah.
And that's about it.
Like before this season, there was like all kinds of like theories that I read on the internet, and like one of them was that Bran was the Night King.
Yeah.
And that like he had come back in time, kind of a thing, and he was coming to kill himself, kind of a thing. Like all kinds of like fan theories that were like interesting or thought provoking, and the show just decided to not do anything.
No. Yeah, and like, what is the three-eyed raven?
Yeah.
Like that's what we see the most of Bran, is him having stupid dreams.
Yeah.
So anyway, so speaking of Tyrion and him being there when he shouldn't have been, and people letting things happen that are stupid, why would Jon be allowed to talk to Tyrion? Why, like why? Or why would he? Why would he, if he wanted to talk to Tyrion? So Tyrion gets imprisoned, right, for being a traitor.
Uh-huh.
You and your incestuous queen with this conflict going on, who doesn't seem to trust you anymore. You're gonna say to her, "Hey, I'm gonna go down and talk to that traitor for a while," right? Like, why? Why would that happen? I think that's the moment that they'd be like, yeah, you can go talk to him. And when you're on your way out, I'm going to fucking jail you too, because clearly you're on his side.
You're plotting against me.
Yeah. And then you know, Tyrion has a conversation. Like, Tyrion has made a lot of bad decisions. He's pretty much caused a lot of these issues, and he hasn't made a good decision in like 2 years. Yeah,
like,
I think even longer than that.
He used to be the smartest character on the show, and now he just kind of guesses about everything.
Well, and throughout the whole thing, I mean, he's been trying to talk, pretty much keeping his family safe. So it's caused a lot of problems. And then he has one conversation with Jon Snow, and Jon's like, all right, yeah, I guess you're right. I should go kill the woman I love. He changes his mind that quickly, and then it's done even more quickly. He walks up there and he's like, hey, babe. And she's like, hey, you know, I really do love you. Let's try to make this work. And he's like, okay, Shank.
Yeah. It's so anticlimactic.
Yeah. It was the worst.
It's just like the show's got to end. It's got to end. Wrap it up.
And then when everyone's like, yeah, you know what? We'll get on board with this stupid thing. Let's go ahead and make Bran the Broken our hero who runs the kingdom. And then someone goes, you know what? No. Nope. I, his sister, will not allow it. Not in my kingdom. Yeah. I will be queen.
Well, that's right after she says, but his junk doesn't work.
Yeah, that too. And then you've got the council who's put together by Bran the Broken. And who's on that council? Well, we got Sam, who just needs to be important because show's got a show. And somehow he's just like the most important member of the Maesters. And then, you know, I don't know who else is there. Tyrion, who just does nothing but screw things up. And, you know, a couple other people, the Onion King or whatever he was.
The Onion Knight.
Yeah.
Davos.
Who honestly is my favorite character in the entire show. But I also don't see why he would be there.
He should have died. Like so many of the characters that are still alive at the end of the show all should be dead.
Yeah.
They should all be dead, which would have freed up a whole lot of screen time for the characters that make it to the end.
Oh yeah. I mean, if the Night's Watch or the Night King fight had actually had any consequences,
yeah,
there would have been a lot of space for important things. Yeah. And then we got Brienne, and we'll have to come back to her in a minute. And then you got Bran or Brom.
Uh-huh.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
Why at all? And like what the conversation they're having at the end, where it's supposed to be kind of funny for some reason, about like needing to take care of the brothels and stuff. Mm-hmm. I'm like, yeah, I guess that actually kind of fits for him. So again, why? Why would this guy be in charge of something important? Is it really, or is this just supposed to, the show needs to end on some comic note?
Yeah.
What the hell?
It's like the end of Star Trek The Next Generation when they're all like sitting around having a card game. Although the end of Star Trek The Next Generation was good.
Ugh. Well, this sucked. Fuck you.
It did suck. It did suck. Like, I mean, it was really bad. I mean, I think I said this before, but like it took an outstanding television program for, I want to say 6.5 seasons. It was really, really good. And then it turned into just a mediocre TV show that seemed afraid to make difficult decisions.
Yeah.
So like I was saying, my wife has been watching the series over again. In the first season, they've literally got soldiers killing babies in their mother's arms. Like that's how like raw the show is. Uh-huh. Like and how unafraid it is to take like chances. And then in this season, you've got nobody important dying, nobody like, and that's like what was the main, one of the most compelling features of the show is that you didn't know who was going to survive. Like, important characters, just because they were important didn't mean they were going to make it. Like, when Robb Stark dies, like, that's crazy. Like, because he was basically the main character of the show at that point. And then he's just dead, and then someone else becomes, like, the main character. So, like, at any moment, all these people you care about could just be gone forever. And then in this season, nobody dies. And they fight through the craziest war that there's ever been, and they all survive.
Well, and with it being so you don't know who's going to die, like almost random in a sense, it's very different from other things, and it definitely feels like it's not being done for the sake of the plot. It's the consequences of people making decisions that could be good or bad, and some people just winning fights that it's like, yeah, they could. And then here, instead of, if you want to have things turn and go like, all right, we need to bring this all together in some way, let's, as we incorporate some sort of order to things, have it be at least really good. They're like, hey, you know what? We're going to do things for the sake of plot conveniences, and who cares whether they're good or not?
Yeah.
It's like things coming together with purpose, and it's the stupidest purpose.
Yeah. And then you were talking about Brienne earlier, and I wanted to like mention how all of your powerful female characters in this show spend the last 2 episodes just crying.
All right. I will defend to some degree. This is going to be a bit of a walk. Okay. So if a lot of things had been done slightly differently, so Jaime going up north to begin with should have been just, I need to make sure that we kill the White Walkers, so I'm here for that. And I'm only letting you know that Cersei is sending other people because we need to know about that so it doesn't end up screwing up this fight with the White Walkers.
Right.
And I'm going to leave as soon as it's done to go back to her. I don't have a problem with him sort of deciding to go back to Cersei. But in terms of being surprised, like he should not be running back because he's like, hey, wait a minute, they're going to go kill Cersei? Oh, no. So anyway.
Well, like, it also, I mean, Jaime Lannister's story gets totally wrecked in the last few episodes too. Like I feel like he should have died during the long night. Like,
well, we could say that about anybody though.
But I mean, like, if like, my theory going into the last season is that Jaime was going to be the one that killed Cersei. Like, if it wasn't Arya, it was going to be Jaime. Because, you know, that's kind of where his storyline was going, where he had finally, like, completely turned against her, and he would be the one that brings her down because he's the only one who could get close enough to her to do it. Kind of like how Jon Snow kills Daenerys, I thought that's how Jaime was going to kill Cersei. And then, like, basically, he just runs back to her because he's in love.
I don't have too much of a problem with that. I thought for a moment maybe he would be the one killing her, and I was like, nope, he doesn't have it in him. And all of this growth of his throughout the whole show, I think it makes sense, actually, that he would, like someone being addicted to something, be almost broken free and then just give in. And so I don't really have a problem with that. But, and when it comes to Brienne, I also don't have a problem with her crying with him leaving because of that. But not because she's like, oh no, I loved him, this hurts. But more like, oh my God, this guy had all this potential, and I had so much hope that he would grow, that it would, like, solidify, and that he could be the man that I know he has in him. Like, her crying when he leaves, if she's crying for, like, out of, like, a mourning or grief for him having given up on himself, I'm totally with it. I'm totally with that. But they also shouldn't have had them sleep together the night before. That was totally unnecessary. Like there has been some romantic element to their relationship. I'm not denying that. But more than anything, I think she's been a friend to and in love with the man that she knows he can possibly be. So like I'm down with her mourning and grieving and stuff. I'm not down with the, oh, you're a virgin? Here, I better do something about that for you. And then, yeah, peace out. I'm going back to Cersei. Like when he says like, everything's been about her and I'm just pathetic. I'm like, yeah, I get it. You are. Go ahead. Give up. Go back.
Yeah.
But there's just all these different stupid things that they did along the way where there's just no reason at all that he should be surprised that like, oh shit, they're sending dragons down to King's Landing. Oh no. Like, yeah, of course that was going to happen.
Yeah. She said that's what she was going to do.
Right.
How do you feel about, I guess you mentioned it briefly, but Sansa being Queen of the North?
Actually, here, I don't exactly have a problem with that other than that, like, everyone else should have said, like, well, if we don't have to be, if we have an option here, I'm going to opt out of the whole he can be my king thing. You know, like, everyone else should have, like, including the Prince of Dorne who came out of nowhere, you know, be like, well, then no, I thought we were here to all unify. Screw it. If his own sister's not going to bend the knee to him, I'm not either. But I had kind of thought, okay, so a long time ago, she had a conversation with, was it with John? I think it was with John, about how people die and then they become songs. And this whole set of books is called The Song of Ice and Fire. So what I thought might happen is that John would die and he would be the Song of Ice and Fire because he's got the North in him and he's got the dragon in him. And I thought it was possible that would happen and then that Sansa would end up... And like I thought he might have to kill Dany and then Sansa would be the queen of everything. Because I felt like that's how they had been setting her up anyway. So I wasn't surprised at all that she was like, nope, I'm not bending the knee to anybody. So I'm sort of okay with it. I guess because to a degree I was expecting it. Mm-hmm. I mean, there was a lot planted in terms of, you know, Dany's going to go crazy because that's what happens to these Targaryens when they become powerful. So that seemed, I kind of expected that. Although, again, like they totally did it terribly. They didn't pace it well. It was like, oh, there are these hints. And then it's like, there go those bells. Oh, no. Oh, no.
Yeah.
She heard the bells and totally lost it. Yeah. And so, you know, sorry. So anyway, when it comes to Sansa, you know, she's not my hero in the story or anything, but it made enough sense to me leading up to it that I was okay with it.
Okay. What about Arya?
Arya, I liked her a lot in the books, and I like Maisie Williams as the character. So like, I'm pretty okay with how things went there too. Like, I'm okay with her killing the Night King. It's just, again, these writers being terrible and pacing things terribly, that it felt anticlimactic. But I don't have a problem with it being her who did it. I felt like she was destined to kill some important people. And then when she decides like, hey, you know what? Westeros isn't for me. I'm okay with that too. Although I've heard a lot of people point out, they're like, when she says what's west of Westeros, Bran could have been like, well, let me tell you, because I know everything. So, you know, there's an island out there or like ocean. I mean, that could be a bad answer, because what if she's just out there in the ocean and there's nothing else and then they all run out of food and die?
She just goes around the world and ends up in Dorne and she's like, oh, well, I guess I'll just go home now.
Yeah. So I'm okay with her too.
Yeah.
There's really...
I was pretty
Sorry, I'll say this real quick. To a degree,
Sure.
like things could have pretty much gone anyway. All because it's Game of Thrones. I'm willing to have things happen differently from how I want or how I expect. It just needs to be done well. So even Bran being the king of everything, I could be okay with that as the outcome if it was done well. And it was just done terribly because a slave or a prisoner walking out and telling everybody how the world's going to run and then appointing him king is not a good way to do that.
Yeah.
Based on his shitty story. So anyway, yeah, go ahead.
I'm reminded of a moment in like the first season, I think, when Cersei's talking to Ned Stark, and she's like, when you play the Game of Thrones, you either win or you die. And for the most part, that was true up until the last couple episodes when everyone who wanted to be king kind of survives until the end.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it stopped being you either live or you die, and it just becomes, well, you live, but like somebody else is going to win. Like, I mean, the whole point of the show is who's going to win the throne. And the winner of the show is Bran, who wasn't even playing the game. Which
I think that's sort of the point, because it's the whole like breaking the wheel idea. Is like if you're not playing, then like if you're playing, then you're part of the wheel.
right.
But I do think you're right too, that like Jon Snow gets to live and wander off to the north, even though Wormtongue or whatever his name is would have killed him. Wait, Wormtongue? Who the fuck is
Grey
it?
Worm.
Grey Worm. Who's Wormtongue? Oh, that's Lord of the Rings.
That's Lord of the Rings.
And
yeah.
then Wormtail is Harry Potter. A lot of worms. But yeah, so yeah, at the end it's like, hey, Grey Worm gets to go live wherever and, I don't know, have a house or whatever they give him. Bram, Jesus Christ, Bram, even though he threatened to kill everybody and whatnot, gets to be appointed to council. Tyrion doesn't die. He still lives, and now he's the king's hand.
Again?
The king gets to be the king. The queen who wants to be a queen gets to still be the queen. And, yeah, everybody else, yeah, okay. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, like it's like everybody got a happy ending.
Oh, it's way
like
too happy.
Everybody who survived gets a happy ending.
And it ends on a joke.
Did it? What was the joke? Oh, it was
It's
between
stuff
the
about the
castles.
brothels. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Yeah, overall, pretty disappointing.
Would you recommend the whole series to someone?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. Would you warn them?
About the last season?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of like I would totally recommend the show Lost to anybody. Like, I think Lost was a great show. Just the last season was terrible because it becomes very clear they didn't know how they were going to end it.
Yeah, I'm like that with the X-Files. I'm like, watch it, but once you stop enjoying it, stop watching it.
Yeah.
Because it's not going to get better.
Yeah. Excuse me.
Yeah.
I am interested in seeing and reading the books when they come out. Like, I imagine the books are going to come out pretty quick now that the show is over because you're not going to read the books?
Oh, no, I'll definitely read them. I just have no belief that they'll actually happen.
Oh, I think he was deliberate, like waiting for the show to end before putting the book out. That way there wasn't competing narratives at the same time. But like, I had a few other theories about the show, which was like, I think last season, like when Jon Snow and Daenerys bang for the first time, and she's like, "I can't have children," and he was like, "Who told you that?" And she's like, "This witch," and he's like, "And you just believed her?" Like, I thought that Daenerys was going to be pregnant, and then her and Jon Snow's child was going to end up being the king. Like the true heir to the Iron Throne kind of a thing.
That would have made sense as A Song of Ice and Fire, that it's in one person there too. But
they don't do anything with that at all. It just seems like there's like so many plot points that they had, and they either forgot about them or just decided, well, we only have 6 episodes, so we're just going to ignore it.
Well, that would definitely be one of my warnings to someone who's starting the show now. I would say, like, By the way, there are going to be about 50 things that you think are really interesting and compelling, and you can't wait to see where they go, and they just get dropped.
Yeah.
And by the way, those dire wolves that seem so important.
Not important at all.
Nope.
Whatever happened to Bran's direwolf?
I think it died with Hodor. And then I had forgotten what happened to Arya's, and I was like, "Oh, I can't wait for that to come back." And then I was reminded that she ran into it somewhere along the way, and it was like, "I'm just a wolf now." And she was like, "Okay,
yeah,
fair enough."
Yeah, I kept waiting for her wolf. What's her wolf's name? Nymeria.
Yeah.
To come back, and then she does, and it's like, "Hi, all right, please don't eat me."
Right. Yeah.
I mean, my favorite thing is, and I may be imagining it because my wife just got to the Red Wedding in the show, but like Robb Stark's direwolf, like they chop off Robb Stark's head and then put the direwolf's head on his shoulders, but apparently that's not in the show; it's just in the books.
Yeah, it is in the books. I had hoped that it wasn't in the show. I was like, I didn't see it, so I hope it wasn't shown. But I think my brain has kind of created the imagery anyway. Uh-huh. Because as you're talking about it, I'm wanting to throw up.
Yeah. Yeah, like it's just so many great moments from a show that it's just really, it's more disappointing than anything that the last season was so much of a letdown.
Yeah, I know there are all sorts of like Reddit threads and stuff like that where they talk about things that got brought up and lost. So it's not like it's not all out there, but it would be fun sometime just to kind of sit down and read through the plot summary or Wikipedia or something and go like, oh yeah, these were all the highlights and these were the lowlights and these are the things that got missed.
Yeah. All right. Well, do you have anything else about Game of Thrones?
Oh, I'm sure I have lots, but I think that's all I got for now.
Okay. Well, stay tuned for a future episode of This Week in Game of Thrones. Matt, anything to plug this week?
Yeah. By the time this gets listened to, I've probably already plugged it. But I started watching some videos on YouTube called Cynical Reviews. Those are pretty good.
Cynical Reviews on YouTube. Okay, great. I'd say check out our website, thisweekinfilm.com. You can find out anything you want to know about the show there. And I guess if that's the end of the reel, we'll see you next week in film /television programming.
See you then.